But we're paying through our noses. Then the government came through by saying, it doesn't matter whether you have money or you don't have money. You would automatically receive a certain amount of money, all of us, to cover part of our electricity bill every month for the social month. I got some. Then the moment the price of energy started crashing, they told us, you won't be paying that much anymore. So in a single year, I have to save more than 300, 400 pounds sterling. That's a lot of money. That goes into something else. That's how you measure whatever is happening. If government is doing something, if the economy is getting better or not, this is how you're going to know. Are you going to make much gain now that you are paying through your noses in Nigeria? If the government says we are working, you should feel it. It's not when they say you won't see it, you won't see it yet. You won't feel it yet. Then these guys told us, in fact, they told us, they said, because of the Russia-Ukraine war, the energy supply to Europe, including UK, is going to be affected. Therefore, those who they have in storage and the ones they are likely going to go and buy to bring to the UK again for us, it's like this subsidy of a thing. Subsidy is gone. When a liter of petrol was £1, so which means now that subsidy is gone, a liter of petrol could go up as much as £2. But to prevent us from having to do that, right? So they said, we are going to pay a lot for our gas, for our electricity for the next 6 months. Or it's going to go up again for another 6 months too. But guess what? They were already telling us why. And the reason why that is just to safeguard the future purchase in order not to affect the supply and demand in the UK. So we paid it forward. About 2 years after that, I'm almost paying like half of what I used to pay 2 years or 3 years ago on gas and electricity in the UK. I mean, I was paying nearly £300 for gas a month at a point. I was paying nearly £300 as well for electricity. It was, I mean, I used to pay just about £90 for my electricity and £90 for my gas. And that skyrocketed that it was visible. But they said it's going to come down. It's still going to come down, okay? The reason why it was going up was this, or that. I didn't have to understand that much at the time, but I was not happy. But the exact time they said it was going to start coming down, the last 2 years, it has been coming down and down and down. And I just received an email yesterday that I will be saving another 270-something pounds a year. So I do not need a politician to come and tell me that I won't understand what government is doing. I have to see it. I have to feel it. And that's how I will understand it. But if things continue to go worse and worse, and I can't really point out or say, oh, this is why it's going tough. And the moment we were able to pass this bridge, we are then going to that is not in Nigeria. When it goes up, it doesn't come down. You just have to get used to it. Those who can't get used to it, they die. They just die and then, yeah, that's them. So people like Wale Idun, when they kind of talk like that, they sort of get me angry. Because I just sit there and be like, are there no educated people watching these guys? Because they are so confident in saying all this trash. Just words. No substance, no nothing. Right? And they can say it again and again and again. In 2 years' time, Idun is still going to tell you the president is doing everything very well to make sure that, that Nigerians enjoy, the country that has been destroyed for, how many years would they use now? Because they are now saying 16 years without Buhari. So this country has been destroyed for 16 years. So it's going to take more than 2 years. That Wale Idun will say that to you in another 4 years, in 2028. If you don't stop them, they won't stop. Then they will start getting ready to actually, it kind of gets me mad. And I'm glad I'm not living in that place, though. so that I would probably have turned to a terrorist that would kind of go after these guys like mad. That's insulting, isn't it? It is similar to this Emefiole's probe. Okay. Emefiole, during the time of Buhari, was working on the directive of Buhari. Baba, we saw Buhari, who granted an interview and said, there is no going back on the change of Naira. Because their reason for changing Naira then was because of their fellow criminals like this Tifnumbu, the people who have piled up cash, Nigerian Naira. Like, how could you even bag money in bags and you stockpile them inside houses for next election, so that you can bring the money out like paper and begin to share it to the impoverished people so that they can possibly vote for you again, or you pay them to kill themselves. You pay election officers, electoral officers. That's why they said they were changing money. So they changed the money. Buhari said there's no going back on it. Well, Tifnumbu knew who was behind it. But the Lily Liver cowards, including those who are around Tifnumbu, they no bond them well, made them mention Buhari. They set up a probe to investigate Emefiole. They said Emefiole designed the new Naira note in the UK, printed it in Nigeria. They said Emefiole used 18 billion Naira to print 600 million Naira cash banknotes. They shall put up a lot, but they always avoid Buhari. They always avoid him. Boss Mustafa came. He lied under oath. Yes, that's what happened. Boss Mustafa is Babashir Lawal's cousin, the one that replaced the grass cutter, Babashir Lawal, when Pastor Ruga sacked him. Then, I don't know if you remember, that's Boss Mustafa. They are really, they are relatives. So anyway, Boss Mustafa was invited. They said $6.5 million cash was withdrawn from the Central Bank of Nigeria, and it was given to the European election observers. These were Europeans who went to Nigeria to monitor the Nigerian 2023 elections. Remember that the European Union also gave money to Nigeria to conduct election. I don't even understand how this makes any sense. Buhari's government, Boss Mustafa was the secretary to the government of the Federation, SGF. So Boss Mustafa raised a memo. That memo was about the election. They said the European election observers, for their accommodation and for their security, they needed $6.5 million. So that memo was submitted to the office of Buhari. The minute on the memo, everything was there, like normal way they do their stuff. Buhari also minuted on it, expedite action, pay. So Boss Mustafa, they returned it back to the office of Boss Mustafa. Boss Mustafa then sent people from his own office to the office of Emefiole in the central bank on the order of the president, released $6.5 million for election purposes. That money was released, and it was released to the person sent by Boss Mustafa. And right there from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the money was moved in cash straight to the office of Boss Mustafa. There were evidence of all of this. Okay? But because Tifnumbu and his gang, they were just putting up a show. I told you, this is Emefiole show. The rest is going to be media trial. How Emefiole looted 500 billion pounds. How Emefiole how Emefiole have 500 houses. How they have collected over 300 billion houses or properties from him. All that kind of thing. You will read them in the media. Because they know that very soon you're all going to have to kind of go look for something else to hate on. Somebody else to put your frustration on. Okay? But for the time being, they put up the show, okay, to show that Emefiole acted alone. Now it is the turn of Emefiole to present his own defense. And for day one, it's already obvious that Boss Mustafa is a criminal. Buhari is a criminal. That $6.5 million disappeared in the office of Boss Mustafa. You know what Boss Mustafa said when they presented him with all of this? He said, it's a signature, and Buhari's signature, they were forged. The idiot didn't know. There were other government gazetted communication, presidential approval, apart from the memo that is minuted on. Now it is now obvious that $6.5 million disappeared between Buhari and Boss Mustafa. Boss Mustafa said he didn't know the person that got that, that took that memo from his office. They mentioned the person. In fact, two of them arrested them as we speak. And the two of them came forward and said, yeah, we gave the money to Boss Mustafa. It was for election purposes. Nobody asked questions. So what $6.5 million was used for 2 days before election of 2023, in February 2023, will remain a mystery. Because right now, the case will just have to die a natural death, like that of Dasuki. Does anybody know when Dasuki is going to go to court next? Do you know? And do you know why the case against Dasuki also died? They told you that the money Dasuki was sharing was money meant for arms, for the Nigerian military to go and fight Boko Haram. It was an easy sell, propaganda. It worked. The money was, the money that Dasuki was sharing was actually the money for the security vote of Goodluck Egbere Jonathan. But it was an easy one because Buhari had a stone to grind with Dasuki at the time. I mean, they have history. They had history. So for the rest of Nigerians, Buhari was fighting corruption until they started mentioning those who collected money from Dasuki. Fayoshe, Faoleshe, this one, Shinkafi, Makarafa, this, that, all of this, you know. That's how they shared their $1.1 billion. Yeah, $1.1 billion in the space of 18 months. But the case died when we now realized that Buhari, the criminal, was actually an Ogbulogbo criminal that collected in cash $300,000 cash. And then they also gave him 2 bulletproof SUV vehicles. After his convoy was attacked in Kaduna, the office of Dasuki quickly sent 2 SUV priced at 350 million naira each. 700 million naira vehicles were sent to Buhari because they did not want Jonathan to be blamed if anything happened to him. How many of you remember that time they said Buhari got attacked? Boko Haram attack on Buhari's convoy in Kaduna. You remember that? That was in 2015. Just about a few weeks to the election. It was part of what later happened to Nigeria, where terrorists took over Nigeria. Nobody knew that it was these jihadists that were perpetuating all kinds of bombings in Nigeria. Just to let you know that Nigeria is not safe. The only person that can protect Nigeria is a general. A general that survived Boko Haram bombing. You remember that time? They were collected nearly 1 billion naira from the office of Dasuki. And guess what he said? He said he only saw cars. He never collected any cash. The moment Dasuki said, okay, you have all read a lot about me. You've read how evil I am. You have read how I am responsible for the death of soldiers, how I am the one who didn't buy weapons, even though I'm not responsible for buying weapons. The Ministry of Defense deal with their weapons, and as well as the welfare of the officers. I am just a special national security advisor to the president. But APC, Egbekegbe, presented Dasuki as the reason why Boko Haram took over Nigeria. But the day they said that Boko Haram collected over $300,000 cash and 2 SUV vehicles, that was the moment they said Dasuki would have to be tried behind the scene. They said Dasuki will be tried in camera, which means everybody that will be a witness against Dasuki, they are going to cover their faces. Dasuki cannot see them. And the trial as well is not going to be public. That was the last conversation about Dasuki. Until Dasuki started giving birth. Boko Haram spent 8 years in power. Dasuki spent 7 years in prison. That 7 years, Dasuki wife, new wife, Dasuki married. Dasuki gave birth to 2 kids inside prison. Yes, his young wife gave birth twice when Dasuki did Boko Haram prison. The rest of those who are happy that Boko Haram has caught the man behind Boko Haram, they did not know that the Boko Haram is the one that is in power. The terrorists have taken over. Today, the havoc that the Fulani terrorists have wreaked. When Boko Haram were doing their madness, people were still able to farm, remember? Then the Fulani terrorists came. And here we are now in Nigeria. Emefiole is similar. Tinubu wants to put up a distraction to show to you that maybe they are actually pursuing something, but there's no way you would arrest Dasuki for stealing and you won't arrest Goodluck Egbere Jonathan, the man that authorized all of that stealing, if you call it stealing. There is no way you are going to arrest Emefiole for destroying Nigeria economically, and then you are not going to arrest Boko Haram and his wife and his son and his entire family. That means you're just putting up a show. And I told you from the beginning, watch how this Emefiole case is also going to disappear. Okay? And the rest of you would have to go and look for somebody else. Or they would have to give you somebody else to focus on, not Emefiole. Because as it is now, the proof is that Boko Haram approved all of the actions of Emefiole, including all the funding for it. And in that regard, Boko Haram will have to be invited. You see, what are we even talking about? Obase, the one that is investigating Emefiole, while their investigation is still ongoing. The same way they investigate those who looted Nigeria. Within the 6 months of his investigation, he has been accused of collecting a bribe of over 3 billion naira. This is not from Emefiole. This is from other people who say participated in the looting of Nigeria under Boko Haram. Tinubu's special investigator, he met few of them, and within 6 months, Alaye don't get indictments. It be like that of Yaradua, when Yaradua was forced on Nigerians by Obasanjo in the worst of elections in Nigeria history at the time, just before that of 2023. Yaradua came on, and Obasanjo, who was constructing 11 independent power station at the time, power plant at the time, to boost the Nigerian electricity generation and distribution. Obasanjo, who used all his might to make sure that Yaradua became president. 3 months after becoming president, Yaradua launched a probe. First, he first stopped work on all of the 11 power plants because they wanted to probe it. They heard that Obasanjo spent $16 billion Obasanjo budgeted $16 billion for this power plant. So they wanted to know if truly Obasanjo budgeted that. The Army appointed Elumelu, the senior brother to this Elumelu that is a UBA chairman. His own brother is the politician. So they appointed Elumelu. Elumelu, you need to probe the power sector of Obasanjo. 2 years after Elumelu investigation, 2 years into Elumelu's investigation, there is already an accusation of him collecting the bribe to the tune of $1.5 billion. Now, Yaradua, the 3rd year, Yaradua and the Elumelu reported nothing. They just suspended the investigation. That's part of the reason why Nigeria could not really progress on power generation distribution. The man Obasanjo forced on Nigerians, the sick man, Yaradua, stopped the work on it throughout his time as a president. I don't know if you know that. Throughout the time of Yar'Adua, all of the work on Obasanjo's power station stopped. It was Jonathan that started redrawing the whole thing after 3.5 years. They started redrawing some of them to say, okay, now they can put money in this, put money in that one, and repay this and that. So they have discovered that out of $16 billion, Obasanjo said he was going to spend on power. Obasanjo was able to actually spend 1.6 billion, less than $2 billion. But till tomorrow, you go mass come back to convince some certain Nigerians that Obasanjo did not steal $16 billion for power. And guess who is the best president in Nigeria? Yar'Adua. You see how it works? That's Nigeria. Anyway, Kolu and his gang, okay, they would need to either invite Buhari, arrest Buhari, and then recover all the stolen money. Or they should just pack up this drama. Now, Democracy Day, June 12. I have this clip I want to share with you. You may not like it, but it's all right. Since this is the diary, I want to share with you the first Tipnumbu's June 12. So some of you who saw Tipnumbu 25 years ago, and the Agbero that he was, and the style of telling them that you will all be far, we take care of you, I will this or that kind of a thing, right? It's not new. But look at Tipnumbu 25 years ago. Just kind of a throwback. It is a throwback Thursday, isn't it? Watch this.
Providing nutrition.
Hang on, no. This was June 12, 1999, 25 years ago. Kolu, just about, just about 6 weeks as Lagos State Governor at the time. Just a throwback.
Perpetually. We thank you for that. But the question is, and the point is today, that without June 12, none of us will be governor and the president will not have been president. We will not have been able to have the democracy that we have today. We thank God for you, for me, and for others. Today is very, very important. I share the pride, the honor, and your sorrows with you. If Emefiole were to be alive today, it would be a different story. We know the priceless number of students jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. A mọ̀ wípé orí tí ẹ ní ẹ mọ̀ pé mo ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ fún ọlọ́pàá tó máa jẹ́ ti state police. A mọ̀ pé I may continue to ask for it. Ó mọ̀ tó ṣe ń ní yín lára. Wọ́n tó tún kù bẹ́ẹ̀ ni pé orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá ó lè gbèjà ara ẹ̀, ó lè dá dúró, kò ní wá tí a ti ń lò ìyẹn fà. Ọ̀rọ̀ oúnjẹ. Nigerians